So, what happens to your mind when your body can no longer move? Today, we're going to dive deep into the incredible, but also incredibly challenging inner world of folks living with advanced ALS. And we're not just going to talk about the struggles, we're going to look at the profound resilience that comes out of it. All right, let's get into it. And that question right there, that's really the core of what we're talking about today. You know, when the body is still, the mind doesn't just switch off. It becomes the entire landscape. So what does that landscape even look like? That's what we're going to explore using a mix of hard science and some really, really personal stories.
This quote, wow, it just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? Listen to those words, physically and mentally tired. That's the key. This isn't just about muscles being exhausted. It's a nonstop marathon for the mind, a constant test of endurance that just never lets up.
Okay, so first things first, let's try to map out this inner terrain. What are the specific challenges we're talking about here? We're going to start by looking at some of the most common mental and emotional hurdles that people face when the disease is in its advanced stages. Up to 44%. I mean, just let that number sink in for a second. That's a staggering place to start. We're talking about nearly half of all people with advanced ALS dealing with clinical depression. And let's be super clear, this isn't just about feeling sad. This is a serious medical condition, and it has a huge impact on this community. And here's something that's absolutely crucial to get. This depression, it isn't just a reaction to what's happening. It's biological too. You see, ALS can actually mess with the brain's chemistry, those key pathways for things like serotonin and dopamine. So it's not just a psychological thing, it's a neurological symptom of the disease itself. And as you can probably guess, where there's depression, anxiety is often right there with it. We're looking at up to 30% of patients. The two of them together can create this vicious cycle that is just so hard to break out of. And we're not talking about some vague, general worry here. This anxiety is sharp, it's specific, and it's tied to very real, moment-to-moment fears. Think about it. Panic over your ventilator, the terror of choking, that constant nagging dread of what's next. It's a deep physiological response, rooted in the reality of total dependency. But the challenges don't stop at the emotional level. For a big chunk of people, somewhere between 30 and 50%, ALS also brings on cognitive and behavioral changes. And this happens because the disease can directly affect the frontotemporal lobes. That's kind of like the brain's CEO, the part in charge of our personality and how we act. So let's take a look at the breakdown. The biggest slice of the pie here at 31% is apathy. And it is so important to understand that this is not laziness. It's a neurological symptom. It happens because of a drop in dopamine, which is basically the brain's get up and go chemical. It can make even the simplest task feel like climbing Mount Everest. We also see things like disinhibition, basically losing your filter and saying whatever comes to mind. And then there's this quote from a retired police officer. It brings all that data crashing back down to the human cost. Because beyond all the brain chemistry and the stats, there's this feeling, this overwhelming, crushing weight of feeling like a burden. And that can be one of the most painful parts of this whole thing. Okay, and there's one more challenge we need to talk about, and it's a particularly cruel one. It's called pseudobulbar effect, or PBA for short. The best way to think about it is like your brain's emotional signals get their wires crossed. So you might find yourself laughing uncontrollably during a really serious conversation, or bursting into tears when you don't actually feel sad. You can just imagine how socially devastating that would be, right? It can lead to some really profound isolation. Wow, okay, so that's a pretty formidable list of challenges, I know. But here's the most important part, there is hope. And there are concrete strategies. So let's totally shift gears here. It's time to open up the toolkit for resilience. We're moving from the problems to the solutions, the things that actually empower people. All right, the first tool in the kit is often medication. This can provide a really crucial foundation for mental stability. You got SSRIs, which are kind of the go-to for managing depression and anxiety. For those really intense moments of panic, anxiolytics can be used. Carefully. And remember that PBA we talked about? Well, there's a highly targeted medication for that called Nuedexta. And just look at how effective that targeted treatment is. Nuedexta can slash PBA episodes by about half. I mean, think about what that really means. It literally gives someone their social life back. It takes away that fear, that embarrassment. That is a massive win for someone's quality of life. A total game changer. So, medication is one piece of the puzzle, for sure. But adapted psychotherapy is just as vital. It's like a 1-2 punch.
On one side, you have CBT, which helps people catch and challenge those really catastrophic thoughts. The ones like, I am useless. And then on the other side, you have ACT. That one's more about accepting what you can't change and then pouring your energy into what you can still do, like creating a legacy project for your family.
And what about those cognitive challenges we mentioned earlier? Well, there's a pretty clear 3-step game plan for that. Step 1 is early detection using screening tools. Step 2 is all about creating structure. Predictable daily routines really help reduce that mental fatigue. And step 3? Delegating the complex planning to caregivers. You put those 3 things together and you can bring back a really vital sense of order and control. Okay, so we've covered meds and therapy. But the Resilience Toolkit is way bigger than that. For this last part, we're going to zoom out and look at 2 more absolutely crucial elements: the power of simple human connection and the incredible promise of new innovations. First off, a strong support system it's non-negotiable. This can be things like virtual peer groups, which are amazing for breaking that sense of isolation and sharing tips. It can be family therapy to tackle that whole feeling like a burden thing head on. But check out the innovation happening here. They're using VR to create these calming, immersive worlds, and it's been shown to cut anxiety by 25% in early tests. How cool is that? And things like adaptive art therapy give people a way to express themselves when words just aren't an option anymore. And all of this really brings us to the core theme of our whole conversation. When you're faced with just unimaginable limits, the human mind's ability to adapt, to find new ways to connect, new ways to express itself, new ways to find meaning, that becomes its ultimate superpower. In this quote from an ALS advocate, it just says it all, doesn't it? Dominating ALS one day at a time. That perfectly captures the spirit we're talking about. See, it's not about winning some big abstract war down the road. It's about having the resilience to find a victory in today. It's all about finding your power right here in the present moment.
So I'll leave you with this one last thought to chew on. Exploring this inner world, it isn't just about understanding a disease. It's really a profound lesson in human potential. And it kind of forces all of us to ask ourselves a tough question. When we see this kind of resilience in the face of something so extreme, how does that change the way we look at the challenges in our own lives? And maybe, just maybe, it reminds us of the incredible strength we all have locked away inside our own minds. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.